Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Queue, and in this bonus edition of Notes from the Control Tower, I'm going to discuss the rare Specimens Period I bundle that's just been made available in the shop. Hello there. In the United Kingdom, we sometimes say that if you want to ensure rain tomorrow, you should wash your car today. And in like manner, I released a Notes from the Control Tower video yesterday, and today the World of Warplanes team kindly releases a new bundle into the shop. Well, here's a bonus edition, and I'm going to talk about that bundle. Let's do that immediately, and we can see here that we have 4 premium aircraft ranging from Tier 2 to Tier 4, Period 1 of course, the Polikarpov I-5 ShKAS, the Blohm And Voss Ha-137, the Hawker PV3, and the Polikarpov I-16 Type 29. In addition to that, there's also steel supply crates, 3 of them I believe, there we are, and you get 100% trained crew. Well, if you're going to use these as crew trainers, the crew members might not be that helpful. So, are these aircraft any good? Let's take a look at them. First up, the I-5 ShKAS. Here it is on the tarmac outside my hangar. Reasonable looking for a biplane. Let's go and have a quick look at it in the hangar. First off, the gun armament. It's rated at 6. And for 4 7.62mm machine guns, you may be thinking, well, that's nothing special. Let me warn you right now, if you get in front of this aircraft, you will melt away extremely quickly. In fact, it will melt away anything extremely quickly. This is, I think, the hardest hitting aircraft at Tier 2, and therefore you won't be surprised it's a favourite choice of seal clubbers. You have been warned. If you see this aircraft, don't get in front of it, and if you see it specialised, you're probably in for a very hard time. Survivability, it's a biplane at Tier 2, so it's very low. Airspeed, somewhat of a balancing factor, it's slow. It doesn't get about from sector to sector very well, which is probably a good thing. The way I've built this, the manoeuvrability, 95, you're likely to be able to outturn almost anything else that you encounter at Tiers 1 and 2, and this thing is pretty good at Tier 3 as well. Altitude performance, again, we're talking about a Period 1 aircraft, a Tier 2 aircraft at that. It's nothing spectacular. For the record, I built it with a gun sight to make that very powerful weaponry even more accurate. Lightweight wing frame, a lightweight power unit, standard set of consumables, except in this case I've dropped the engine cooling because that's not really important at Tier 2, although you might consider it if you're thinking about trying to get from sector to sector. So, the first aircraft in this bundle, I actually considered not talking about it other than to say it exists. But there you go. I've let you know that this is a favourite aircraft of seal clubbers. And just before we leave this aircraft, I ought to mention that I do have a very good pilot in it, and quite a lot of the manoeuvrability is derived from these 2 skills here, Aerodynamics Expert and Acrobatics Expert. Let's move along to the next aircraft, which is the HA-137. A Tier 3 German ground attacker, and just in passing, and I've moved myself so I can show you this, there are 2 very similarly named aircraft in the game, the HA-137, the HA-137 version 1, both premium aircraft, both ground attackers. And if we look at the gun armament very quickly, there's a 20mm cannon, which of course is big for a Tier 3 aircraft, but you are principally shooting at ground targets, and a pair of 7.92mm machine guns. They're not too bad for knocking down ground targets, but your main weaponry is ordnance, 4 SC-50 bombs, and these will be certainly enough, a pair of them, to knock out, say, the sheds at a garrison, the warehouses if you prefer, and enable you to flip sector reasonably quickly. Survivability is 7. It's a ground attacker, so it's got a fair slug of hit points, but it's going to take a lot of damage because it can't defend itself particularly well. It hasn't got a rear gunner, note. Airspeed is a respectable 13. Manoeuvrability, it's not too bad for a ground attacker. Unwary players may very well stray in front of you and think they can simply outturn you very easily. They may be disappointed to find that you're landing that 20mm cannon and your machine guns on them, particularly if they're in heavies. So bear that in mind. It's not entirely defenceless against aircraft in front of it. Altitude performance, it's a ground attacker. It's very poor. Just quickly in passing, I've set it up with cockpit armour and also reinforced skin to improve its durability, and then I've improved the range of the gun so I can start knocking down ground targets just that little bit earlier. And as you go through the game, you'll realise that German ground attackers in large part do rely on their guns, so this is a fairly good indication of what's to come. Consumables very quickly. It's a single seater, so I put on a fire extinguisher. We have engine cooling. That's simply to get the motorists about between sectors as quickly as possible. A universal ammunition and improved fragmentation. Neither of these are gold, of course. It's a perfectly respectable ground attacker. You can learn your trade in this and begin to learn what you can expect from the German ground attacker line. Okay, the PV3 is up next, but before we look at it in my hangar, a little bit of history for you. Back in December 2018, there was a special over Christmas called Operation Holiday Manoeuvres, which I frequently refer to as a candy trail, because basically that's what it was. You had to earn pieces of candy to progress along a trail. And there were various rewards. One of them was the promotional aircraft, the PV3, Tier 3 UK fighter. And this is no joke. There is in fact a special pilot for the PV3, unfortunately not part of this bundle, and that's Rudolf. So let's go into the hangar. Here we are, and I actually do have Rudolf Hawker in this aircraft at the moment, but again, just to emphasise the point, he's not in this bundle. If he ever comes up again, you might consider buying him. He's got a couple of special skills for the PV3, and he does make the aircraft better, damage outputs and extra manoeuvrability in particular. That said, you obviously can use any British pilot, such as my Spitfire pilot here, who's also a very good pilot. Now, you probably didn't notice, but the manoeuvrability figure did actually go down a couple of points there, but it's still very high at 104. So if you have this aircraft specialised, like I have, you're going to find that this is a very nippy little fighter. You'll probably outturn almost everything that you encounter if you're in this aircraft, and you have a good pilot, and you've built it the way that I have. And you won't be surprised to learn that I've put a gun sight on to improve the accuracy, a lightweight wing frame, lightweight power units, and as it's a single seat fighter, I have used a fire extinguisher, pneumatic control assist for even more manoeuvrability if I do get into a fight, perhaps against another one of these. I've gone for the restart, could go for engine cooling of course, and universal ammunition. With the pilot, if you haven't got a highly skilled pilot, then what you'll be wanting to get first is aerodynamics expert, probably, and acrobatics expert. This is a good little aircraft. It would be better, but only slightly, with Rudolf Hawker in it. If you've got a good pilot, you'll be fine. And that brings us to the last aircraft in the bundle, the Tier 4 Soviet multi-role, the I-1629. Now, there is a similar aircraft in the tech tree, the I-16 late modification, the difference being that the tech tree aircraft has better guns, but it has rather worse ordnance. And for my money, that makes the premium aircraft more flexible. In fact, I think there's Gabreski medals where you have to destroy 10 aerial targets and 7 ground targets in a single sortie whilst winning the battle are a real possibility in this aircraft. You'll learn true multi-role fighting is in this. Armament. Machine guns plus a 7.62s and 12.7s. It's not too bad. You can certainly do good damage to fighters with this. Bombs and rocket, this is where it really scores. These bombs will knock out special objects if you're careful with them, the pair of them, or certainly you can take out gun emplacements with them. I think this is a really flexible little multi-role. And it also has the rockets to take out even more gun emplacements, for instance. Airspeed 23, fairly respectable. Manoeuvrability quite high at 80. Okay, you're not going to compete with the most manoeuvrable of turn fighters, but if you catch them by surprise, you'll be able to stay with them long enough and knock them down with the guns. The altitude performance, a little bit low, but it is multi-role 17. Again, useful as a crew trainer. Perhaps if we put in a better pilot, we might see some of these manoeuvrability figures shoot up. Why don't we put in, for instance, the Yak 30 pilot that I had on display earlier? And as you can see, the manoeuvrability has shot up 4 points, even though I've lost a little speed there. As for the setup, gun sight, lightweight wing airframe, and the other slot is for the outboard weapon. And I've put in ultimate strength and hard points because I basically want the bombs and rockets to reload quicker, even more chance of that Gabreski's. Consumables, single seat plane, so fire extinguisher, pneumatic control assist, and universal ammunition and improved fragmentation because I don't use gold. So, as I've already said, you'll learn your multi-role trade in this aircraft. It's pretty good. I like it. It's one of my favourites, actually. Okay, so we're now looking at the bundle in the shop, and you now know that it contains 4 pretty good aircraft. In fact, I should skip over it, but one of them's a bit of a monster in the right hands. If you were to buy the regularly available aircraft, one Tier 2, two Tier 3s, and a Tier 4, it would come to rather more than this £14.49 that's shown here. And I think that translates to €16.47 or $21.21 US. But in addition to that, you're also getting 3 steel supply crates, and if you're lucky, you might get something rather nice out of those, although you probably won't. This is a competitively priced bundle, but that's not the only consideration here. This is strictly a bundle for 2 types of people, collectors and those who are currently playing at low tiers. And if you're going to move on into mid-tiers, you're probably going to do that fairly quickly and you'll soon outgrow this bundle. Remember that. You're not going to earn a lot of credits from these. These will only really fund activities at low tiers. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this look at this bundle, and I hope that it will help you decide whether you want to buy it or not. I also hope that you will come and see my future content, but until then, this is the Noble Q signing out.